Welcome to the official Business and Lifestyle Legends podcast. Real life stories, exciting interviews, and a lot of knowledge to change your life. And here is your host of today's episode, Ben Schneider.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode. Today we have an awesome guest here. He's an award-winning videographer from the Philippines. His name is Palabyab. And hey Aaron, glad to have you here.
Hey, glad to be here, Ben. Thanks for inviting me.
That's awesome. That will be a very valuable interview today. Be sure, guys. So let us talk about the videographing things you're doing. You're also an astro-photographer. So he's doing pictures from the sky. So definitely you're from the Philippines, but
yes,
you are working all over the world. So you're traveling a lot, I think, and you have done commercials for TV shows. You are an award winner. So how does that came? How did you start your journey?
great question. So I really do have kind of, in terms of the career path of people in film and video here in the Philippines, my path is quite, I would say, unique. And I'm not saying that to like as any form of self-praise. It's just really been a product of, a search for something that works, in both business and lifestyle, as what you've said. And so it was in, I think, middle of university that I basically figured out that working as a commercial director or cinematographer would be a fun way to make a decent amount of money. But I came into college thinking I would be like a newscaster or something, or even a writer or a musician. So you know how that is. And so, I kind of early on, relatively speaking, committed to the career path. I was maybe like when I was 19. And since then, after I graduated communication from college, I went to film school for a couple of months, a film school in the south of the Philippines. It was an international film school, but in the Philippines. I got my certificate for filmmaking there. And then since then, I've just been working. And that's how it all started. But it takes a lot of turns from there, and I guess we'll get into that.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned you were on an international film school in the Philippines. Was that self-financed, or is there a program by the government or anything like that?
It's financed by my family, basically. But I did go to, like, my university was free. I was an academic scholar. And so that did leave some money over in my family, because in the Philippines, it's very common for the family to pay for the education of the children up to university, and also just because school here, even the most expensive ones, are just so much cheaper than in the States.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I think that's a result because people in the Philippines are earning not that much like in the States,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So and then there was a point you had your first job outside the Philippines. How was that feeling? If you're a young filmmaker and then you get an offer from the outside of your country, and then you have to travel, and the dream begins to coming true. Is it like that, or how was that feeling?
That's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that. I'm trying to remember when the first time. Yeah. I'm trying to remember the first time it actually happened, because I mean, before COVID, I just sort of started to get used to it already. So I'm trying to remember. I think the first time I went abroad for work was, it was actually for a project here. And we had to shoot a subject who was in Singapore. And I think that was the first time I was sent abroad. And I just I think I felt right at home the minute I started doing it. And I think my first, after that, I think the most significant thing, project that was, I think, a next step was we shot it was a Philippine travel show, but we traveled around. We went to Thailand, Switzerland, Germany, a little bit of Italy. So we were shooting a travel show there, and I was hired to do a couple of episodes of that. And I think since then, like people just kind of building that resume. And since then, I think people just started to know that, hey, I'm the guy you can send abroad to shoot. And what can I say? I mean, I could definitely be getting more, of course, especially at a time like this. But it's something that I really felt right at home doing it. I think I have a specific personality and skill set that I think really allows me to be sort of like, if you need a guy from this country or this region to go abroad and deliver in a small team, I think I was able to, like, with the experience I've had, I feel very comfortable working internationally and with like international teams, people from different countries. And so it's just one of those things that started happening. And you know how it is, like the more you do it, like the more people know that you're the guy who does it.
So that's awesome. You have been to Germany. Where was it exactly?
Let me remember. I think actually we just kind of hopped over into Germany. It was in Konstanz, I think.
Oh yeah, that's
Like
not far
we
away
just
from
hopped.
here.
Yeah. Oh really? What
Yeah,
a coincidence. Yeah.
Constance is around, let's say, 2.5 hours from my place. So that's awesome, guys. We are talking.
That's
I'm
awesome.
talking right now with a guy from the Philippines, and he had been 2.5 hours away just from here. That's awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah. Um, yeah, and actually, I think just to like support that point even more, I've found in the course of my like travels doing my professional and personal work, I've often found myself to be sometimes the only Filipino to have ever been in a place or the first Filipino to have ever visited the place. And I take pride in that, to be able to, like, in my own way, represent my country and do a good job. It's really quite a privilege.
Yeah, definitely, I think so too. Especially right now in the COVID times, it's very hard. Not sure when the next travel plan for you will be. Um,
Exactly.
Nobody knows. As we in Germany, we have the lockdown right now, so
Yeah.
it's very strange times. But you mentioned also you wanted to do something to have the business and the lifestyle components and earning for sure, hopefully a lot of money. So as we are also a business podcast, let's deep dive a little bit into the numbers. How many money or how much money did you earn or can you earn as a videographer from the Philippines per month? Is it $500 a day? Is it 5,000 or how much is possible?
So that's a great question, and I'll take you through some of the different scenarios. But I want to preface this by saying that the financial lessons I've learned as a filmmaker videographer are almost all from mistakes. And the I actually, and I guess this is a good preface to what I'm about to say. The main money I made that allowed me to also travel personally, I got from being a partner in a production company. And so, um, and at the time, like, I really didn't know, like I would just got all this money and I really didn't actually know what I was doing. And so, I mean, we can get into that later, but to your question, it really, there is a range. And I would say most people who get into videography in the Philippines, the number one sustainable way to support yourself is through doing weddings. Um, and weddings pay quite a lot. Like high end weddings, you can get like $2,000 and up per job. The low end is more like anywhere from $200 to $500 per job. But in video, the real money is in doing TV commercials. Everything is like the budgets are higher, the stress is higher. So that's what I came from. So I was both directing commercials and I owned a production company. So in terms of like my work history, that was when the money was best. And yeah, and then like related to weddings, there's events, and then that's mainly how you support yourself. Those are the main ways to support yourself as a videographer here.
Okay, so you also make your money not from being sent abroad and working as a videographer. So you made your money more from being an entrepreneur and owning a company, right?
Initially, yes. Um, but then now, actually, in terms of the projects that really do pay well, they've tended to be local projects for international clients.
Okay, okay,
So that's actually like it's a great niche for someone like me because they do pay you like rates that are more comparable to what you would get abroad because it's quite different. The pay scale, of course, naturally is quite different, and working for foreign clients, but in the Philippines is, I think, one of the best ways to kind of arbitrage that and make better money.
yeah, yeah. I think there's a big
Yeah.
range of the different earnings.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, what do you think how social media has influenced the photographer, videographer scene? Because, for example, 10 years ago, it was very hard to shoot a great photo or doing great videos. Today, I have my smartphone here. It's able to record in 4K. We have high resolution on every picture. It's doing automatically all stuff needed to create a good picture. So, what do you think? How the socials influenced that scene? Also, in the way of the earnings. So maybe I think today a photographer is earning way less than maybe 10 years ago.
It's true. Yeah, that's another great question. So let's go to just like the overall, like how it's changed the scene first. Definitely now compared to even just 10 years ago, which to me 2010 was yesterday. Um, the bar to be considered good is so much higher now. And of course that's both good and bad because I mean, let me put it this way. 5 years ago, you could post a picture just of the Milky Way, just the sky. No foreground, no nothing, no mountain. And something like that would get like hundreds of likes or whatever reactions, just a large amount relative to your following. Now, if you posted a picture of the sky, that's just like, I mean, badly put, it's just like somebody just pointed his cell phone and took a picture or something. Now it's considered just like basic. So the technical bar is so much higher now for both photo and video. Um, Now there's like a lot of implications to this. Like in terms of the art, I mean that's a big debate. Obviously, like the technical part versus the art side and everything like that. In terms of video as well, as you might imagine, it's much more competitive. Although video is still much harder than photography because to put together the video you shot really does take a significant amount of time, skill, and knowledge. And so now it's really boils down to in terms of social media. Sure, it can be considered a bad thing that it's so competitive now, but it's also a good thing because if you're really good, like if you really have a voice, if you work hard, you have the talent, and you're consistent, you have a chance to really stand out as a superstar. And in the kind of model I'm pursuing for my career, um, that's what I mean, that's the model that works for me is to really be sort of somebody in the higher tier, somebody considered in the higher tier of my niche, somebody very specialized who can deliver. Like in my case, I'm somebody like who's independent. I can travel on my own within the country, outside the country, and I deliver everything as a one-man team. And so there's a chance to stand out because you're more seen on social media. And to be honest, um, I have gotten most of my interesting opportunities via Instagram messages and my contact form on my website.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay,
in terms of business, you want to get into that, or you want to like just
sure.
uh, yeah. Again, now, like, because it's so competitive, like, you're right, it's much harder to get to, I guess, really break in and into that tier where you're making good money. You have to be really good, and some of the economics don't quite work in the Philippines. And like, if you ask me today, like, how to make money, like, I won't even talk about photography. Photography is so difficult. If you think that you can get into it and make like a good living out of passion or whatever, it's a questionable proposition. You have to really think hard about it if you want to turn that into a career, because even the long time guys are struggling in general. In terms of video, again, there's still a bit more room there, because I've found that in the age of YouTube, of course, so many people are self-taught. But somebody like me who came up in film and is kind of like a native speaker, you could say, like, of all of the lingo, and I've learned all the technical stuff, it has a definite advantage. We just like um already know all of these things, like we kind of grew up into them to begin with. And so for somebody who already has the knowledge in video, there's still more of an opportunity. But in terms of making it sustainable, you will still have to do stuff like weddings and TV commercials. Like, that's the bread and butter for most people.
Yeah, I think so too. Or like working as a remote worker for outside companies, doing video stuff. For example, my videographer is doing will cut this video, for example, for YouTube, or other videos for YouTube,
Oh
or
yes.
anything else. So yeah, this is also an opportunity, I think. But you're definitely right. Right, agree with that 100%. I think that it's very hard to earn your monthly income as a photographer if you're not doing weddings, for example. This is a niche that will bring money in. But or maybe product pictures for e-commerce stores.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Mm-hmm.
problem with photography, I think, is um, it's local based, because you need your camera and doing the photo. You cannot record or shoot a photo of the for an e-commerce store from the US if you're sitting in the Philippines. So
Right.
that's a problem, I think. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's why it's hard to earn a monthly income as a photographer, I think, especially astrophotography. I saw your pictures and they are awesome, but
Thank you.
but yeah, you're welcome. But who should, how won't you earn money with that? So you can collect them in a book and try to sell those books. But that's also very hard, I think, if you're not a celebrity and have a awesome brand name.
Mm-hmm.
So or who should buy this? Maybe on platforms like photo collecting platform, Shutterstock or Pixabay or anything like that. But I think that's only a few cents per picture, so maybe a few dollars per month, but you cannot live from that, I think. Or do
Mm-hmm.
you have any else perspective on this?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. In terms of, it's great that you bring that up, because for any beginners who are listening to this and you're into the kind of stuff I shoot, I have to burst your bubble that, like, there's, especially here in the Philippines, there's basically no money in landscape astrophotography per se. The photographers who make a living from it, they use the portfolio on Instagram, the astrophotography, the landscape photography, to build their brand, and then they sell workshops or online courses. That's the business
Yeah.
model that I see from the successful photographers. But you have to be like kind of like at the top to be able to make that your business model. I actually used to sell prints, and like this thing over here at the back. This is a big print. So I spent a year trying to make that business work of selling large prints, because the margins are very good. It's very specialized. And I made some good sales, but I think, again, like, in a place like the Philippines, the market's very limited. And unless you're really a big name, that's just extra income in terms of that kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you have also courses or doing online workshops or something like that where you show people how to use Photoshop or all these kind of tools?
I've I've tried. I really spent a lot of time looking into that business model and studying how to make online courses. But at the time, like I figured that the numbers don't work for me in terms of like the amount of people out of my following who would buy. I'd be able to convert, and then competing with the price that some of the more experienced photographers here are selling their online courses for. Um, what was going to be more viable was to make in-person workshops, but right before we really were able to get into the swing of that, me and the photographer I worked with, COVID dropped, and so like in-person workshops are gone as well.
Yeah, definitely. But the good thing on that online courses stuff is because that's what I did for a long time. Also build up with clients that stuff.
Hello, are you there?
It's a one-time thing, so you do it one time, you set up it one time, and then it's only about marketing because the course is already existing. But definitely there's a lot of competition in there. So and prices are also a little bit going down, but it's not about the pricing. If you're selling online courses, it's about your branding and the marketing. So
Yes.
if you have a YouTube channel with 50,000
Yes.
subscribers or a Instagram with 100K, for example, then you can sell those stuff as hell. So,
Yes.
but it's not about building the course because you can do that with 10, 20 videos. This is one time. You can record that videos in around a week, or for example, and cut them and upload them. That's not a problem. The problem is in that case only, do you have a brand and do you have good marketing? So if you, for example, in your case, you're an award winner, you have great photos. If you build up a YouTube community with
Hmm.
free value, with free videos,
Hmm.
showing them stuff, etc., and building a good brand, and when people will like you, then you're gonna sell your stuff as hell. This is definitely working also in 2021. But it's about branding, and you are putting a lot of hard work in the free content on YouTube to build
Hmm.
that audience. But when you have that audience, then you have these guys, and you are not able only able to sell video courses. You're also able to sell one-on-one life coachings, online coachings. You're able to sell your books. You're able to sell anything else, T-shirts with your photos or anything like that. But you need to build that audience, and that's very hard. And this is getting harder and harder every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I did. I mean, I've thought about this so hard and tried so many things. And you're right. At some point, I realized that when I asked myself, what do I have to invest my time and money in? And the fundamental thing is building that audience. That just makes everything else possible. And again, like as you said, to do that, you just have to offer like a lot of value and be consistent. And an interesting wrinkle, though, for people from the Philippines, um, is that if you have a Philippine audience, the numbers tend to be bigger than an international audience. However, there's a different way to, I think there's kind of a different requirement in that in the Philippines, whether you're a photographer or a videographer or some other kind of artist, a yoga instructor, you are expected to be their entertainer. There's that aspect, like to be able to successfully build an audience in the Philippines. There's really that aspect. You can't just be a good teacher. Like you have to be a personality. And that's something that I've had to learn and learn to enjoy as well, because that doesn't come naturally for a lot of people, especially if you're a
But I
technical
think,
person.
yeah, definitely, we're on the same page. But I think that's not only for the Philippines; that's a global
Hmm.
thing. So, because what you mentioned before, competition is getting higher and higher. So there are hundreds of good teachers, but who is entertaining me? Who is making the podcast interview or the video or etc. in that way that I want to stick to it? that I want to be in the next podcast interview too, that I want to be in the next video too. That's the special skill you need to have, I think. Let me make another example. I think around 5, 8 years ago, if you were driving a Lamborghini or something like that and showing it into your socials, that would be awesome. You will gaining a lot of likes and you're Mr. Awesome and everybody wants to have a Lamborghini. When I open my phone today, I'm thinking like, oh, what the fuck? Everybody in the world is driving a Lamborghini. So because everyone is showing it on his socials, there are a lot of people out there who are earning a lot of money. They can afford to buy a Lamborghini. There are a lot of people out there who earn some money and they can afford a Lamborghini, but they shouldn't, because they do not have enough money, but they also bought one to show it in their socials. And then there are people, in addition to that, they do not have money. They rent a Lamborghini or they lend it from a friend or something like that. So if you're taking your phone these days, you think, oh, wow, everybody in the world is driving a Lamborghini. So, and this was not happening 10, 15 years ago. This was not there. And that's, I think, a good example for the competition that changed in the last 10 years, because there is so much competition out there. And in my case, I think you need to be real, you need to be honest, but for sure, you need to provide valuable content. And in addition to that, what you mentioned, you have to be an entertainer, definitely, in every case you're doing. So it's always better for you if you're funny, if you're entertaining people. It's every time better than only to be the strong, straightforward teacher and teaching people how to, I don't know, erase the red eyes on Photoshop or something like that. So that's a global thing. I think that's not only in the Philippines. That's a global thing.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, and it's just something that, as somebody who's always been a perfectionist with my work, it really took a lot of mental adjustment to allow myself to sort of open myself up and show my personality to people and let myself be judged. And I resisted that for years. But as I slowly tried to be more me in my videos, and I stopped hiding behind making the videos so perfect, the response has just been I've doubled my subscribers this year. And that's just something that, you think you're so smart, and then no, your audience will tell you, actually, you'll know when you're connecting with them.
Definitely. Do never think you are Mr. Awesome. Your audience will tell you how you are and how they like you or not. Definitely. I've around, I'm not sure, I uploaded more than 700-800 videos on YouTube on my channel in the last few years. And in the first videos from myself, I was like, hello, I'm Benjamin, and I'm telling you how you can do marketing. And if you're practicing and doing more and more videos, it's getting easier, and you will find your own yourself inside, and then you are more how you really are, because you're basically there's a tend to be an actor. If you're in front of the camera, you act like an actor, and all has to be perfect, and the book is lying there, the picture is there, and all that kind of stuff. But on social media, if you really want to grow big, I think you need to be real, and you need to be yourself, how you are when someone would meet you in the street.
100%. And I don't know why it's just taken so long to really embrace that. It's just coming from being used to making your work so perfect. It takes a while to wrap your head around that you don't have to be perfect either.
Yeah, and what you mentioned about the numbers in the Philippines, or you mentioned if you have only people from the Philippines, you can grow bigger than if you have an international account. But I think problem with that is you need to have the right audience, because if you have an audience who is not illegal to pay for something because they don't have the money, they cannot afford your course or anything, then it's the wrong audience. So it's better to have 10,000 subscribers who have money and would be able to buy your stuff than have 100,000 from, I would say, a poor country or anything like that, or a poor region. They would not be able to afford your stuff. So because numbers in social media is like having money on Monopoly, so it's worthless if you cannot sell your stuff to your audience. So what is your audience for if you want to sell stuff? If you only want to entertain people and telling people, hey, I want to make your life good, then big numbers are great. But if you want to sell stuff, like, for example, your course, you need to have people in your audience that you would be able to afford your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a dilemma that I struggle with sometimes. It's because trying to find that balance between, like attracting the right people and just like attracting people in general. And I actually think that a lot of the big YouTubers in the Philippines, like, they actually really don't have that business model around their channel, by the looks of it. And it's something that, like, I want to be smart about. And so, yeah, I mean, that's, for me, that's something that I'm still working on, to be able to have that kind of audience.
Yeah, would definitely recommend that.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron. If you guys want to follow Aaron and want to see his photographs and his videos, which are really awesome, definitely recommend to do that. You can go on YouTube and look for Aaron Palabyab, and subscribe his channel. He has nice videos. He has awesome photographs on his website. And yeah, thanks, Aaron. Is there anything you want to mention or say to our audience at the end of this podcast?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, like, well, first of all, thank you for listening. And I guess the thing is, like, if you want to do this, it's worth a try. But just remember, like, to make this work, if you're dreaming of quitting your day job and doing this kind of thing, you'll work harder than you ever did at your day job. But that's not a bad thing.
Definitely. If you do something you really love, definitely you can work more hours as in your daily work job. So we are at the end of this episode. Thanks for listening, guys. And it would be a pleasure to have you in the next episode with us. There will be another awesome guest. We'll not tell you the name right now because you need to be there. It will be awesome. Trust me. So thanks, Aaron. And
thank you,
guys,
Ben.
have a nice day. Bye-bye. See you in the next episode.